Good morning. It's George Lees. I'm making this video early in case I get law enforcement visiting my house and evicting me from it. That could happen at any time according to the threats that they keep levelling at me, even although I've exposed the massive frauds of Plebgate, the massive frauds of Scottish Energy, the massive frauds of the judiciary in Jedburgh Sheriff Court, and the massive frauds and the crimes against the people of the local councillors under lawyers, Miss Patricia Tom, who's levelling the threats at me again. Okay, I'm going to show you once again that religion is a massive disaster. Okay, I'm going to show you it and the meaning of this joke for Rupert Murdoch. Yeah, that is Christ plummeting. Yeah, as the missions in Latin America, yeah, funded by the Welshers and the Fuggers of Austrian Bavaria, which is the master race that become the Habsburgs, then the Rothschilds. Yeah, all of these continents now belong to them. All of the religions are fakes, and Jesus is the biggest one of all. And all of that is the Naples story. But in Australia, this is the joke for Rupert Murdoch and the Sky God, because the Sky God in Australia is Bunji, the bungee jump joke. Yeah, it is absolutely ruthless. And on these images, I'm now going to show you where we left off on the demon. So that video is not, that soundtrack that you hear is not this one. Yeah, that's not playing. The bungee jump joke. Okay, it is absolutely relentless. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple of little video clips before I start. This is this jokes against the heavenly gods that I told you about the other day. Okay, so Poseidon has the word Piso in it. Every one of the Roman gods was taken from the Greek gods before them, yet with the knowledge of what they're supposed to be capable of doing, and the names, and every one of those names was changed except for Apollo. And that is the Olympian joke, that they are laughing at this week. Now the Olympics are held in artificial conditions, because if they were to hold them on rivers that were allowed to give you the acts of God that we have seen in my region in recent times, they would not be able to host the events in those countries because they would massively flood. So they create artificial tracks with waterfalls in them, and it looks just like the Butlins venues. Yeah, and it is just the same set of jokers. Okay, because this joke is the Fleming joke. Okay, so there is Uranus's castrated genitals drifting down so that he can then be the father of Aphrodite once they fish them out of the ocean, and do it presumably by artificial insemination. Yeah, like all of the Queen's babies and all of the things that we've told you, and I told the locals about from the River Test region in the pub last night, all of them are now looking at what I'm trying to do, and they totally understand it. The Duke of Westminster died yesterday, yet those are the jokes about the Duke of Westminster having a 700 million anti-litigation fund as the profiteering boss at the British Legion. Yeah, something that has been denied by the local head of the British Legion. Yeah, and that is the Duke of Westminster, Britain's richest man and the only one on the rich list who's genuinely a British citizen. That excludes all the Mittals and the incomers from Russia. Yeah, all friends of the Queen and the elite politicians that run the world. And Gove is the biggest villain in this story, because that is Jove, it is Jehovah, and all of these are bastard kids because they pretend that the gods are naughty with their breeding behaviours. They are not loyal to their partners, yeah, and they have gods of war all over the place, yeah, and that's why the gods go ballistic. Okay, so this one, yeah, Goldfinger. Do you know what the Flemings are in the religious story? They're high priests, and they wear this hat. They wear that hat. I could play you it, I may get copyrighted on it, so I shall not play you it. That is the hat that the Flemings wear as they become the priests in the I think it's the Roman religions. So that is the Flemings that are the high priests for the emperors and the Piso family relatives. Yeah, and every one of them with the word pious in their name is the moniker that we are the Pisos. Yeah, and the one that is Pliny the Elder is on behalf of the Pisos, nicknamed Maximus, and he is the assassin. So this is the clip from the Fugitive movie, which totally applies to me, because this is the fight against the healthcare frauds by the ruthless policeman who will not bargain. So he shoots his deputy, the one with the ponytail for the Piso joke, yeah, he shoots the victim that escaped from the crashed train, yeah, right through the head, and his lieutenant was stood next door. So that's the role of the Flemings in policing the religious fraud around the world. It's spelt Fleming, and that for all of the menagerie of animals and birds is the flamingos in the Out of Africa movie for Robert Redford, my wife's greatest hero in the treasonous team that owns the world. Yeah, and has cast their own children into £1,000 debt pools because of our greed and stupidity. Okay, and let's just put you onto Poseidon. I'm going to have to switch to the other computer, so we'll, how can I do that? Oh no, I want to play you one more tune. Just one more tune. So we'll play this and I'll change to the other computer. Bunji, the god of Sky News.
Lying, dying. And he gets himself up onto one elbow and he turns to his mates who are gathered round and he says, "Watch me wallabies feed, mate. Watch me wallabies feed. They're a dangerous breed, mate. So watch me wallabies feed. All together now, tie me kangaroo down, sport. Tie me kangaroo down. Tie me kangaroo down, sport. Tie me kangaroo down. Keep me cockatoo cool, curl. Keep me cockatoo cool. Oh, don't go acting the fool, girl. Just keep me cockatoo cool. All together now, tie me kangaroo down, sport. Tie me kangaroo down. Tie me kangaroo down, sport. Tie me kangaroo down. And take me koala back, Jack. Take me koala back. He lives somewhere out on the track, Mac. So take me koala back. All together now, tie me kangaroo down, sport. Tie me kangaroo down. Tie me kangaroo down, sport. Tie me kangaroo down. And mind me platypus duck, Bill. Mind me platypus duck. Oh, don't let him go running amok, Bill. Just mind me platypus duck. All together now, tie me kangaroo down, sport. Tie me kangaroo down. Tie me kangaroo down, sport. Tie me kangaroo down. Play your didgeridoo, blue. Play your didgeridoo. Like, keep playing till I shoot through. Blue, play your didgeridoo. All together now, tiny kangaroo down the sport. Tiny kangaroo down. Tiny kangaroo down the sport. Tiny kangaroo down. Tan me hide when I'm dead, Fred. Tan me hide when I'm dead. So we tanned his hide when he died, Clyde, and that's it hanging on the shed. All together now, tiny kangaroo down, sport. Tiny kangaroo down. Tiny kangaroo down, sport. Tiny kangaroo down.
So, I have now solved the Dingo murders in Australia, because the Dingo is the equivalent of Romulus and Remus in the Gods for Rupert Murdoch's Sky. You get it? You've just seen the Flemings
In the bad, bad lands of Australia, maybe.
Right, let's get rid of that. So the Mission movie, do you get the Mission movie now? And all of the gods and goddesses, this is Nyx, and that becomes, in sectarian religion, Nox. Yeah, it's a pseudonym for Nyx. And Brian Ricks in the Goon Show has died this week, and that is all of the Richt style jokes, and here are all of the people that are born to be the gods of the night, yeah, in their silken clothing with their tits out. Okay, Chaos, Erebus, Hypnos, Zeus, Heracles, yeah, all of them, yeah, have had their names changed into the Roman equivalent, and all of that makes them a joke, but not as big as Bunji, the jump joke for the gods, yet falling over that waterfall. Right then, so where can we start? Let's start on the tabs and describing what I'm going to tell you about. Okay, so there is the Flemings, yet the Flemings with the rugby skull cap on, yeah, everyone, yeah, all of the folk that are on my mailing list, including the Chisholms that were the second rows in my team and the local coppers in Jeddah at one time, yet now moved to a different region. They were on my lobbying list as decent people in the borders. Their dads all wore those caps in the scrum, yet not knowing that they were jokes about the Fleming family who played on the wing for us. Yeah, that's Jimmy Fleming, the redhead. Yeah, they are the priesthoods of ancient Rome. Yeah, and all of the jokes about the Roman gods are piss takes. That's the pi, piso, piss takes. Okay, so that is the tab for the, we'll start from the bottom up. Okay, the Fleming scrum cap, and the Flemings are the ancient Roman people, and there are the stories about that, just in case you think I'm shitting you. It's taking a long time, and they will all open in the wrong place, so I'm probably wasting my time. It's not gonna open readily. So the next one up is my dog Tag, yeah, and that is some of the Roman gods. Then we've got the Michael Gove Jehovah's, yeah, and that is all of the derivatizations of the word Jah and the jaw, yeah, and the place names in the Garden of Eden. They're all a mistake. Okay, so there is the Flemings and all of the massive listings of new Roman gods that have come from the massive listings of old Greek gods. Yeah, and they use the words volcano, yet to give the new gods their names, and all across the Christian mission, once it's launched, out of the Mithra cult, which are the legends about Nox and Nyx, because they are the Isis myths. yet that take you back to Joseph and the coat of many colours in Egypt and the Old Testament in the Christian Bible. There is no division between any of the religious stories. All of them are just the same story replayed all over again, and the Flemings get the gold every time. Yeah, and they are the bankers, and all of that has been covered up by all of my friends on Facebook, who are now leading the royal commissions to free the banks and to remedy Mark Carney's policies. Yeah, John Patterson has not got the brain power to do that, but he tells us that the government have asked him to. Yeah, and Gove is the Justice Minister, by Jove, by Jehovah, by Taze Russell, by all of the world's Freemasons who run all of the wars entirely for profit. And I don't know how they live with their conscience, but there are millions and millions of them all around the globe, and they work in temples, yeah, with these jokes right at the head of the armies that go in the name of Jesus, in the name of Islam, in the name of Judaism, all around the world. Yeah, and that is the same gods, yeah, that were created for exactly the same purpose. Yeah. Okay, so my dog Tig is the joke about one of the goddesses, I think. And then you've got the Jah jokes. So my dog Tichi, yeah, this is the woman that is the goddess in the Roman Empire, and that is the terminology to be a tyke. Do you get it? Yeah, and there's all the gods of the ocean under our feet, because these are the new ones, and that makes the Freemasons in America, when Jim Reeves goes to war, leaves his dog behind, and that is the dog tag joke, and the god is the dog, because in Hebrew you read it backwards. Yeah. George and Renee Magritte walking their god after the war. Same joke for David Bowie and the Bowie tribes of the Italian Alpine region and into Innsbruck. That is the Brookville joke for every one of the world's fascists and profiteers in wartime. At Ednam House, former owners, the Brooks family. Okay, and here we've got the Jah temple. We'll come back down to, oh, we're not at the bottom actually, because there is the biggest ones of the lot. There's the Dingo murders. Yeah, do you remember that? That's way back in, I think, the 1980s. They lost a woman, a baby, yet on a camping trip to the outback in that massive Ayers rock in the middle of that massive desert that the gods have created. Okay, so there, we'll just take you there for a brief period of time. So this is the temple of Jah, Jehovah, in Rome, and you'll recognize it from the Gladiator film, because it's the one that is on top of the mountains where Romulus and Remus were sired by the wolves. Yeah, the wolves in sheep's clothing is the Christianity joke. Do you get it? The Christianity joke about the shepherds being in charge of the flock. And look what they have on the top of the temple of Jah for the Jehovah's. They have the Jewish menorah. Yeah, and that is the building, the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus, the Piso assassin, yeah, that is on top of the mountain in Rome when Maximus the slave is taken in there on his donkey cart so that they can all go to their deaths as entertainment for the newly founded Christian movement. Yeah, and at that stage Marcus Aurelius is in charge, so Constantine has done the dirty, the Bible's now being produced, and Maximus Aurelius is the publicity officer that sells it all over the frontiers of the Roman Empire. 509 BC, we worship the Father God, and it is still on when Maximus visits as Gladiator. Please note, it has a Pi candlestick maker's menorah. As Jesus looms, they get a series of fires, and that means that none of the pagans cannot read and write. That's the tragedy. So nothing of what they left behind and the gods that they loved so much and were inspired by is left for the world to see. That's the tragedy of the inner circle, being the Latin writers. Yeah. But so the Dingo thing is the gods in let's show you that first. I'll show you the whole of the Bunji Murdoch fraud, and then we'll go up to the much earlier frauds in Rome. Yeah, so there's a list of gods and goddesses from Maya and all around the world, and what we've got is, when we find Australia, I think you will be shocked by it. This is Rupert Murdoch, who interlocks with Henry Kissinger on the Future of Russia Foundation, with Prince Charles's trust, with George Osborne, the former head of as the Chancellor, and look at the numbers of Chinese gods. Yeah, 6 by 6. It's like putting them on the ark. Yeah, all of them led with the letter T, which is the Christian cross. Yeah, and the execution place for their greatest ever fraud. Okay, and there's the elephants coming in. Thank you to the Oliphants of the Borders for coming forward and chatting same day as I discovered this. Yeah, this is the joke about the Lord of the Rings. It's the joke about the royals shooting elephants all over the world. Yeah, and the elephant has no bullocks hanging down. And all of that is the Brian Ricks and Goon jokes, that all of the species, like the platypus in Australia, are there as part of the joke. Yeah, and the anteaters and all of them are listed and registered by Ptolemy, and that becomes David Bellamy, and then it becomes the massive families that are involved in the Great Escape movie. Yeah, and the naturalists that go all around the world, and all of those rare species, including the tortoise, are on the islands that are in the South Pacific, that become the whole of the religious jokes. But none of them are as vicious as this. I only learned it yesterday, and it's been pissing down all night. Okay, so Sky, do you recognise it? I've had to drop out because I'm impoverished now. Yeah, and I'm going to be bankrupted by Miss Patricia Tom, the fraudster who's now a millionaire. Yeah, from my persecution. Yeah, led initially by Alistair Hutton, with the Queen of the Quangos, yeah, who was the head of the Borders Health Board, trying desperately to section me already from the retired position. And he's the one. Here is the Bunji joke. Yeah, so the Bunji joke is that there's a Beale god too. Yeah, and that is the Beale that played Standoff for Australia. That's the Austrian Aryan master race, are Rupert Murdoch, and he's absolutely decrepit, and the whole of his family are twats. And Lizzie Murdoch employs the man who was on the front page of the Scottish papers yesterday because of the revelations I made 2 days ago on Lord Kerr of Kinlochard and massive energy frauds, and the head of the United Force in Scotland being fraudsters in fake murders of Moira Anderson. Yeah, that was Stephen House, and the new one is Gormley, and they're now claiming that he is a profiteer. He's got massive castles. He is actually Lizzie Murdoch's interlocks. Yeah, they're absolutely ruthless. Everyone that was at his wedding is in the frauds and are in the leadership team for the world owners. That is Michael Gove, the Justice Secretary. Okay, there's the joke. Yeah, do you get it? Jesus falling off the waterfall. It's the same fucking Bunji. Right then, so there are the gods. Okay, in Australia, so Oceania, there's the Maori ones, yeah, and that is the Ra god and the angels. Yeah, there are the Australian ones. Altigira, Arenti, So that's Al Jazeera in the Rupert Murdoch empire, Al Jazeera, Arenti, creator and sky god, Balaam, the taking of Balaam, whatever the movie was. Yeah, and you cannot find images of that now. I'll show you that in a minute. All you can find is the terror that happened in 7/7. Yeah, in the underground, done by the British police, and the BBC made broadcasts about how they were going to do it before they did it, and they killed the people under the HSBC building on Canary Wharf, because the canary thing they're ashamed of too. That is the Nazi popes. So there is Binbeel, that is the launch of the standoff through all of the time that we watched Australia and New Zealand being the master races in global rugby through all of that time. And even the fern on the All Blacks jersey is a joke about the Bible and Holly Fernies being murdered by the Jewess, Miss Valerie Jane Lees. Bunji, Cullen, yeah? Do you get the Cullen jokes now? Lord Cullen being the inquest chairs. There it is. Bunji is the rabbits joke for, yeah, all of world history since Lagos the Rabbit of Macedonia and Alexander the Great. And for Rupert Murdoch's Sky Empire, he is the creator and sky god. Yeah, and there's Jupiter Optimus and the Flemings as their high priests. Yeah, do you see how cynical it is? And there's Tag the dog for World War II and Jim Reeves. And the Reeveses are now the propagandists for the Rothschild family, and all of what they do is that they proclaim that even the Napoleonic Wars were worth less than £1 million to them. Yeah, and I've made videos since on all of the asset stripping of all of the United Kingdom by the Rothschild family as advisors to all of the politicians who break out of the Parliament building and become millionaires, like Gove will do eventually if God lets him live that long. Gerald Grosvenor died at 62 yesterday. Yeah, that's because of that massive Westminster empire of property. They own Mayfair and all of the massive expensive places on the Monopoly board. Yeah, and they own Eccleston Square, and the Eccleston kidnappings in the families are now the cover for the Duke of Westminster's fabulous residence with the massive Christian church right next door. Let me show you all of the jokes together. Yeah, because you cannot find the taking of Pelham, whatever it was, or Balaam. Yeah, and it's okay. So there's the most dangerous bungee jumps in the world. Yeah, all of them with the Christian cross shape as they plummet down. And you can imagine how many accidents there are in that sector because of technical faults. Yeah, like the one where the Jehovah's Witness fell off his window cleaner's ladder and landed and was pierced fatally just this week. Yeah, like like the Duke of Westminster. And he's worth only 8.5 billion now because of the way that the Rothschilds allow other people to become the Forbes rich list personnel, and none of them. So the taking of Balaam, yeah, and Balaam is one of the places where the London terror occurred. Can you see the London bus in the Balaam underground? Yeah, that's why there are only 3 images for it. That is 7/7, that is Police Inspector Cressida Dick, and all of the launches of the new lovers called Cressida for Prince Harry. It's a massive fraud against the people, and they will kill anything that moves to cover their previous sins. Have you tried bungee jumping like all of our visitors from Hexham, Miss Valerie Jane Lees, that you made the massive joke? Everyone who's in Intel is told the meaning of these massive stories that are massive belly laughs against the gods in the heavens that created us and our universe, and all of the rivers, yeah, that could be used in the Olympian events if they were still amateur and ethical, but now they cannot take the risk because the gods are stronger than them. And Gerard Grosvenor knows that now. Don't know where he's going to end up, like his sister, the populist. And thank you to the Irishman, yeah, who's confirmed that he may well be a body double for Norton, the chat show host. Yeah, it was him that told me that Grosvenor died. Okay, look up my Duke of Westminster Vestes Argentina video and you will see how massive the interlock with the Christianity fraud is, as he becomes the militiaman for Westminster all over the world, and all of his ancestors are the masters of the horse. So there is Beale, one of the gods in Australia, and that's the reason in the joke about the Right Stuff movie that they take you to the cave at Ayers Rock and they show you God's representatives in Australia sitting by the fires, yet in the way that God planted them in their chosen place in this world. Yet now the rugby that is played by the international teams is all over the globe, and it costs a fortune, so none of the amateur clubs can thrive. Yeah, and our club in my town are now in the 3rd division for the first time in world history. Yeah, and do you get it? Yeah, all of it is the piezo pistic. Yeah, no subtlety. The European piezo pistic for Rupert Murdoch on the Future of Russia Fund with Jacob Rothschild. Yeah, George Osborne, Henry Kissinger, Lord Patton, the head of the BBC, the head of Oxford University, and immune from bombing in World War II, like all of their massive institutions. And little did I realise, yeah, that all of my friends in treason, yeah, and all of the intel role for Facebook and Skype is just an extension of Rupert Murdoch's Sky Gods joke. Bunji, worship me, O Bunji jumpers. Right then, so there's the Dingo tab. Let's get that out of the way. So, there must be something on Bunji and what his actual ethos is. There he is. He's the bird. You get it? So that's the eagle on all the flags. Yeah, that's Eddie the Eagle at the Olympics. Yeah, for the British twat. Yeah, they can barely see the end of his nose, and he does the ski jumping for a laugh, because this is the master race. Yeah, who now have all the bastard children and the deformed children, and there's nothing they can do about that, because that's God's work. There in the outback on Ayers Rock is Bunji's shelter. There is the eagle, a 23-metre tall sculpture by Bruce Armstrong, inspired by Bunji, in front of the stock market and financial services buildings in Oz. Yeah, at the end of the yellow brick road. Do you get it? In Australian Aboriginal mythology, Bunjil, the eagle or eaglehawk, is creator deity, culture hero and ancestral being in the Culling Nation in central Victoria, which was not there until we went to Khartoum and all of those places in Africa that become rivers of blood. Yeah, and this is the sky god for Rupert, which is Rupert's country's joke is Canada. Binbeal the rainbow, yeah, that's the one that you've just seen playing standoff. His brother is Balayang the bat. He is assisted by 6 worms, yeah, worms or shamans who represent the clans of the Eaglehawks. Dirt, Nankin Kestrel. They are the quail hawk, yeah, in the Bible for the Pizos. Yukopi, the parakeet, Dantum the parrot, Tajeri the brush-tailed possum. Yeah, they are vermin in Australia, and because of that they planted them in New Zealand, the rival country, and the possums are all over the places that we visited in our most elite holidays. Vermin which they planted, yeah, and that's the possums. And you'll see that the cross-dressing comedian that is Dame Edna Everidge, who is the owner of, just up the road there, Guy Innes Kerr's ancient Roxburgh Book Club, yeah, under all those black clouds, Yeah, that is where the Roxburgh Book Club was purchased by Dame Edna Everage, and all of the Bible people and all of the folk that printed the Bible are on the lists of owners, yeah, in the original members of the oldest book club in the world, just 2 miles from that window. Okay, so that is Dame Edna Everage's story. He's now the owner of that book club, for a laugh. And Guy Innes Jesus Care, yeah, no longer has it. I don't know whether or not they still have the meetings rooms in their basements. Yeah, Bunji gathered his wives and sons, then asked Crow, yeah, this is the Corby joke in all the Shakespearean writings, and Corbyn, the head of the Labour Party, who had charge, and the crows, yeah, and ravens in the Tower of London, that will be released to fly when Britain is eventually freed from Gove and the Justice Minister. He gathered his wives and sons, then asked Crow, who had charge of the winds, to open his bags. And yeah, this is why when my wife was coming across border control in Australia, they frisked her, emptied her bag and made her go under the radar operations, and all of it was just a joke about the same issues that the Freemasons share in every lodge in our world. Crow opened the bag in which he kept his whirlwinds, creating a cyclone which uprooted trees. Bunji asked for a stronger wind. Crow complied, and Bunji and his people were blown upwards into the sky. Yet the cross falling from the missions in Latin America, funded out of Frankfurt, yeah, and out of Bavaria by the Fuggers and Welshers. Yeah, and that's the Welsh school teachers in the It's a Wonderful Life financial services movie that is still my favourite. Bunji himself became the star Altair, and his 2 wives, that becomes Adair, and that is the jokes about Barclays Bank and the husbands of the Rothschilds. Yeah. The black swans become stars on either side. So that is the black swan joke. Yeah, that is the goddess Cybele that used to be my employer at the Black Swan, and all of the stories about the Black Swan and the horrible movies that are now about, yeah, now about sucking people's fannies, because that is the Piso religious joke, and all of it is for the whole of the world's elites, the same joke through all of world history. For Fergie the princess, that is sucking her toes and sucking her fanny, and she is part, yeah, in the 9/11 building of the little red doll joke that I've now exposed. So let's get on to Bunji's shelter. Is today popular tourist attraction and one of the most important Aboriginal rock art sites in the region. That is the Right Stuff movie about the moonshot, which never ever happened, yeah, and all of the original pagan Aboriginals still looking at the stars and the massive meteor storms that occur there, yeah, because this is where they are legendary worshippers of the god Bunji, and all of it will be a joke, almost certainly in Murdoch's lifetime. Yeah, it's got all the hallmarks of the human jokes, and the Dingo is the equivalent. Let's see what the other tabs are below that. Okay, so it's in Victoria, and this is from their visitor centre. Okay, so there is springtime wildflowers and other plants. So this is the Bunji shelter, the caves that we've just heard about. Spring wildflowers and other plants more easily recognised include greenhood orchids, the icon for Piso when he took over the Bank of England, yet the icon for up the Teviot Valley, the man that is Bill Nye, and his wife, who's the public school teacher, yeah, she buys orchids at Christmas time. Flame Health and this succulent purple flowering pig face or noon flower. Do you get that? That's the pie pig face flower. There it is. What does it look like? It looks like the noon sun god, yeah, in its full glory, and it now becomes the Pi pig killings that Ali G makes all of the jokes about. So do you get it? Noon flower or pig face, a traditional food plant. So pig face becomes the sun god Ra. Yeah, there's a rat in the kitchen. Yeah, that's Ra's cross. Yeah, everyone is a pistic. And what else have we got? So, and it's located in Hell's Gap in Australia. Okay, and the pigment of the samples, and Bunji and his two dingoes tell us they were painted using traditional clay ochres. Okay, in 1911, parts of the body of Bunji and the second dingo were overpainted with European whitewash. That is Bill Clinton's, yeah, and the man Twain's whiteboards joke about painting the fence white in Mark Twain's Tom Sawyer movies, and getting all of the Aboriginal, in this case American Indians, to take the fall for the murders in the graveyards. Yeah, it's the same jokes over and over and over again, and the dingo is the person that is the guilty person in the dingo murders. Yeah, and they were revised, and the same corrupted lawyer was used in one of those massive American murders, yeah, for the one that failed to save the reputation of the parents of Azaria, the Aryan master race joke, and the Chamberlains, who are the equivalent of George Osborne on the Future of Russia Fund. Yeah, they are the chancellors and the money people for the governments of all of the corrupted governments. Yet since Rupert Murdoch was taken from Australia by the Nugent Hand Bank, and he went through London, corrupted all of the newspapers, got rid of all of the hard copy print runs, yeah, and all of it, he becomes the CIA boss, and then the Bushies take over from him. Azaria Chamberlain was an Australian baby girl who was killed by a dingo. Yeah, the gods, yeah, the gods' allegiance to Romulus and Remus in Rome. All roads lead back there. Yeah. So she was killed by a dingo on the night of 17th August 1980. That's spooky, we're getting close to the shooting season. Yeah. On a family camping to Uluru, aka Ayers Rock in the Northern Territory, where all of the Bunji jokes come from. Yeah, I presume that they jump off the side of the rock face. Her body was never found. Her parents Lindy and Michael, yeah, the Jewish angel Chamberlain, reported that she had been taken from her tent by a dingo, the gods' apprentices. Lindy was, however, tried for murder and spent more than 3 years in Pizzo prison with the word R in it. Yeah, and it's the Pichon, and all of it is the same joke. She was released when a piece of Azaria's clothing was found near a dingo lair. Yeah, that will be the gusset of her pants. Yeah, like the Jack the Ripper, systematic. Yeah, it is systematic. It is something, yeah, that is much more than coincidental. Yeah, that's Jack the Ripper in hell, where all of the fannies are cut out, because that is the Pizzo joke. In 2012, some 32 years after Azaria's death, the Chamberlain's version of events was officially confirmed by a coroner. So they've changed the story, and all of it is false news, and all of it is a joke against the gods and their friends, yet the humans have entirely imposed on the massive gods, yeah, that are now nameless in Australasia because of their capacity to read and write in Rupert Murdoch's sun god cover. Yeah, Rupert Murdoch and Rebecca Brooks's son. Yeah, So the inquest was held in Alice Springs, and that is the joke about the gods of the heavens and the oceans being unable to produce springs that give you fruitful, clean water. Instead, the gods, the new gods in Rome, have been given the capacity only to give you salted water, and that means that they are not adopted by the Roman people in all of those places where the water is salted. And that is the saltire flag joke for the whole of the Christian nations. Yeah, that is St Andrew, who never existed, and the saltire flag is the icon for the cross keys at the Cluny Abbey. Right then, the other tabs. Okay, so conquer then. So this is the stuff that I've shown you already about how when the Roman Empire expands, across the Aryan Amber Way, takes you into Egypt. That is the marriage of Cleopatra to the pharaohs that are in the world owning bloodlines, right up to Queen Elizabeth II. And she's in the bloodlines only because she's the bastard child of Winston Churchill, because she has not got, because of the Rothschilds' frauds before that, enough royal blood in her, from the stammering and imbecilic King George VI, who's in the team that plans World War II, which is why he stammers when he announces that they have started it. So here's a map of the lost gods, and we might have done some of this already. So this is down on the toe of Italy, and this is where you still get the earthquakes. So every one of those places gets earthquakes and volcanoes. That is Irpinia, to the north of Florence and the Flowers joke, and that is Florence in the Zebedee comedies, just before the British news every night, and every one of the menagerie is in all, and that becomes at lunchtime, Watch with Mother. All of the villains in religion are cartoon characters. And there is God and Noah, where Christopher Columbus sailed from. Are you getting the jokes now? There is no authentic gods. The ones that inspire, that create the weather storms and scare them shitless in the biblical floods, have no credibility. They are not mentioned. They are not mysterious, lovable entities for good. They run, as gods of war, the genocides in Rupert Murdoch's news stories. Via Lagos the Rabbit, de Lucino, Tivoli, that is where Emperor Augustus the Poof has his massive castles, and empires, and his pretend places, and he writes up world history from his back room as the real assassins get out there and do it on his behalf. And the false news is all through, and I've got the names of all of the false news authors, even on the next tab. There's Naples, where Vesuvius erupted, and Naples, Italy, is to the south of Rome. I've now established that, and there we're getting closer. Okay, so that is the Via Lago del Lucino in San Clemente is the church in Naples, right under Vesuvius, and that is, Naples is hidden by that thing that they've planted there with a car on it. Okay, San Clemente is the church where the Mithra rites of the ancient bull god that is Baal are celebrated in the Mithraeum, in the underworld for Christianity. And that is why Winston Churchill, in the stories by Greg Hallett, sings, "Oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling Clementine," as he gets pissed in the bath, because he is the man that has corrupted the world as one of the three wise men in World War II, and the other is the Pilgrim Father, who is Roosevelt, and the other is Stalin Rothschild. Yeah. And there is the Vaticano Capitol, where all of the volcanoes that are down there, that is the location for I can't remember the two volcanoes that keep erupting without a break. That is Stromboli and Mount Etna. Okay, the last eruption in Italy of Vesuvius was in 1944, just on the end of the massive cull of all of those European citizens. Okay, and that means that all of those Italian quakes happen in those places. That's where we left off on the last video. Okay, the pictures are no longer available. Yeah, all of the places. That's the seismic activities in Italy only in the last 100 years. Yeah, the other two have been going off perpetually, yeah, since Christianity started to transit through those countries. Okay, Italian volcanoes. So that was the quakes that you've just seen. There's the volcanoes, and there is Mount Etna permanently erupting. Yeah, Stromboli at the foot of Italy. Yeah, that is the joke about Stromboli the clown in Pinocchio with God in the belly of the whale. That's the Geppetto god. Yeah, the Petto joke is the dog. Yeah, and the eruptions are quite something, and the gods are quite something, and I don't know who the gods who are responsible for that are. The easiest one to identify is the Thor linkage to thunderstorms up here, and even that is the piss take for Rolf Harris about my boomerang will not come back. That is Thor's hammer and all of the massive quakes that occur when he chucks that around the place. So are you getting it now? The sickle that will end your life has already cut off the real deity's nuts. Yeah, that is the castration of the man that we just heard about. On that tab, yeah, on that tab that is Poseidon and the Poseidon bloodline, but the one who was castrated for a laugh for the public school boys is the Uranus. Right then, and down below you'll see that we have Stromboli, yeah, the massive clown that is Christianity going round the world, and everywhere it goes, this is the Montefiore jokes on the stock market and business registers that interlock with the Duchess of Sutherland, and the Duchess of Sutherland's relative is Lord Levison Gower of Liverpool, who was the Levison Inquiry chairperson. Friends of Lord McCartney and Muhammad Ali, who died only this year, like Gerald Grosvenor. There is the pants joke for Woody. Yeah, that's another volcano. That one last erupted in 1891. That's Panthera and the pants joke for the Piso family members that have that in their name. And there's the volcano bit, and they yet they're ever so careful about that since Vesuvius erupted. And the Campa Flegrei, that one last erupted in 1538. The others are now dormant, I think. Yeah, and they were erupting before Christ was faked. Okay, Sabatini, last activity 40,000 BC, Vulture 40,000 BC. Now they know this from evidence from science, like they know that Lance Armstrong was a drugs cheat 10 years after he first started to win the Olympian events. Yeah, all of it is just made up. The whole of world news is a fiction. And the vulture, like the Corbins, are part of that fiction. Right, here's the pig pie ritual killings. Okay, and let's get further across so we can read it. This is the private function joke. That is the man Elliot, who's the actor in a private function, playing the corrupted doctor during rationing time in World War II, yet that are rearing their own pig. And Michael Palin, the joke of it, yeah, it's the corruptists in my town are an anagram of Palin. Palin is in the team that is the Monty Python's team, and all of the Ali G jokes about going back to Kurdistan as Borat and killing the pig and having a laugh at it, yeah, it is the same joke, because they kill the pig with a Thor's hammer object, but they have his hammer, yeah, and the humans steal that and no longer pray to him, her or them. We cannot know who the gods are. Yeah, all of it is the same joke as Rupert Murdoch's life. In Ali G they cut the throat like my mum did on the farm for my mother, yeah, who was a great fan of Jim Reeves, incidentally. Yeah, the biggest day in a farming simpleton's life was the pig killing, because you got the bladder to play football with, you blew it up, you tied a knot in the end, and that is your sporting access. That is the amateur ethic, that is the Olympian myth that in my lifetime has been completely turned on its head. Yeah, and you now have to do the kayaking down the Butlins slopes. Yeah, and that is the helter-skelter joke at the fairground. Yeah, you're coming down the penis with the snake wrapped around it. The stone is then sworn on for fear. Baal, it was the bull and Mithra myth that happened in around 100 AD when they began to launch Christianity in the San Clemente church in Naples. Yeah, even although Vesuvius had just erupted. Yeah, and they're building from the rubble, and they're building the false religion from that point on. Okay, and that is the Mithra myths of the sun god Ra. It was the bull, and then it becomes only Christ in the new religion that we have. And we give up a wafer of bread, yet instead of sacrificing the bull, and that is our route to salvation. And only one of the churches now does that. The Pi Pi Bible now bonds us to law, and that is the marital oath and everything that you swear on, even in the Dingo murders. Yeah, for Bunji. Yeah, it's not for Bunji, it is now for Jesus, the biggest fraud in world history. Okay, and I don't know what the picture is. Oh, but this is the Jupiter stone, is the hammer with which you execute the pigs and you give up the sacrifices. And it is Jupiter's, that is Michael Gove's justice joke, and it is in their joke the Lupiter, the lapis, the lapin in France is the rabbit. Yeah, and the Palin is the rabbit joke, and the rabbit joke is Winston Churchill's joke, all wars, all sides, since Lagos or Macedonia. Yeah, and you get hammered. Yeah, and that's why the chiropodist, yeah, with the foot and the kissing the toes and all of the things about the feet sticking out of the ground as you plummet down to earth when you fail to get to heaven. That is the Shakira movies about Des Lacos and stuff. Yeah, that is the chiropodist joke. Okay, and this is all. The Jupiter stone is on Capitoline Hill, and it becomes the oath stone for everything that Michael Gove's frauds represented. That is Jove, that is Jehovah, that is Jah. Every one of the false religions, none of the gods get a mention, and they are mysterious entities. I do not understand them, and I don't believe I ever will, and I don't know whether or not I will ever get to meet them, because they are millions of miles away on the sun, and all of the suns that represent the whole of our universe. Do you get it? Lupiter, lapis. Lapis lazuli is the blue dye that allowed them to defraud the Bible. It is Michael Palin. It is the massive jokes about even the corruptionists in my hometown. The same anagrams. Yet the same Masons are responsible for all of world history's frauds. Vindolanda, Hexham. My favourite Mithraeum, and my pub is the Hadrian right next door. Yeah, that's Hadrian's Wall, and the massive release of all of that. We will conquer your country, we will take over your gods, and we will take the piss out of them, because you were unable to write in those days when you were worshipping those things, unless it was on the wall of a cave. Okay, the worship of the remains as holy relics continues, and the children of the world love it right up to this day. The Burley, that is the people that now run the Mithraeum as a tourist exhibit, yet Mr. and Mrs. Burley and their old ancestors, they run it locally like Rothschild run Wadsden with the holy relics in it, and that is formerly the gods of the universe waiting behind the turnstile now. Yet the Burley is the joke, everybody knows that, is the money to be made from the deal. So that's the family that run, the God joke out of Bardon Mill in Hexham, which when we visited England, when we left Hexham, there was a massive flood and Bardon Mill was totally submerged in water out of the River Tyne. With the word T at the beginning, for the Christian cross. I don't get the rest of the joke there. Okay, Chesterholm Museum, Bardon Mill. And my Auntie Mary's favourite spa hotel was right next door to that place. She's the Taylors of Canada. Military bathhouse at Vindolanda. Vindobona is, I think the Vindo bit is deathly white, and the Bona bit is the sexual apparatus, erect. Located near the modern village of Bardon Mill, it guarded the Staingate, that is the Roman road from the River Tyne to Alex Salomon Rothschild's Solway Firth. It's noted that the Vindolanda tablets, among the most important finds of military and private correspondence, written on wooden tablets, found anywhere in the Roman Empire. Still a money stream for the Burleys. And I don't think I've highlighted any more of it. There is the Tottenham Hotspur symbol for the Spurs, and that is the symbol for the laurel leaves of the Olympics. Okay, so let's see Tivola and the poof. That was Hadrian that built the wall. Here it is. This is the Polo Museo de Lazio since December 2014. And that is the Burley joke in Hexham. Here it is, Hadrian's Villa. Let's see what we've written and summarised. This is one of the ancient wonders of the world now, because it's a laugh at the gods. Adriana, the Aryan master race, do you get it? So, Hadrian and his homosexual love nest. They create maps and iconic gardens portraying the feet of the emperor, who just parties alpha to omega like the royals still do. This is portrayed in Marcus Aurelius' tent in Germania in the Gladiator film, but Hadrian seems likely never to have been up for the fight. He and his masters work with the plume. See spa tools in the tab below. The domes for you joke is the invention of cement. That's my mate Croft in the Livingston region. That's the Livingstons of Africa that are related to the Bushes of America. The domes for you joke is the invention of cement for the Masons and the cornerstone. And thank you to Croft from Livingston for telling me all of the jokes about the graves that the Christians plant It's the same fucking joke about the cock and the fanny that is the Piso Bible. So, and cement hardens like your erect cock in the graveyard. Yeah, and that is the massive pillars that we have all over the world. Yeah, for the masons and the cornerstone, and heaven is full of mortals and false gods in the attic. As region. Yeah, right then. We're not going to get through it unless I get a move on. But there is the gist of it. That is the Roman baths that are now hosting the Olympic events, and all of the Olympic events cost more for the new one than all of the old ones added together. And you should see it, it looks just like Butlins. Yeah, for the canoeists. Yeah, and all of the magnificent cataracts that God has created because of these frauds, yeah, and made the rivers turbulent, all of them get ignored now because they know that they cannot control the gods in the heavens. Okay, this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the man that runs it is a poof. Yeah, he never is likely to get across to Hadrian's Wall, and all of the people that are the generals in Britain become, as Suetonius the general, they become the real name of Barack Obama, yeah, who's now bleating about how this is a real risk to the ownership of the world, and he knows that his route out of that is the nuclear extinction button. That's trident for Poseidon with the word Piso in it. Yeah, and there's all the little pretend empires and the domes that have the heavenly roofs, yeah, in the Vatican and in all of the Capitol Hill, yeah, empires that they build for themselves, and they live it up, yeah, as they send all of the gladiators to their death for entertainment. That has gotten slightly better. Okay, here's the domes joke. Yeah, cement, and hey presto, with Piso in it, you have heaven, yeah, in stone above your head. Yeah, the Pantheon in Rome, largest dome in the world for more than 1300 Freemasonic years. Yeah, and this is so that's the Hancocks joke about the homosexuals, yeah, running the world. And that is what Greg Hallett told us about heterosexuals providing stability, and that's why Michael Gove is a poof. Yeah, and he's proud of that, and he's proud of what David Cameron did with the launch of civil marriage. Cement and hey presto with Piso in it. Yeah, peso actually, that's the currency in Latin America. You have heaven under your roof until it gets stoned in the earthquakes. Yet then it becomes really quite a heavy burden to bear. The gods get to go there at the opera hall. That's the gods being the upper rows in the opera, in Naples, in the jokes about the last minutes of the Godfather in Godfather 3. But only if they buy their ticket. One recalls that Demeter is on the list of gods, and his dome's diameter is the Hancocks joke. Yeah, that is the circumcised penis joke for Stephen Andrew Hancocks and his sister, who still uses my name in vain. Yet just so she can continue with the lawsuit to take everything from me that I had before I met her as a pauper with £4,000 of debt on our Nissan car. Yeah, as a tool for the English government to dismember Scotland, we now need a new referendum to get them out of that crisis. None of the politicians have credibility, and all of it is just a joke in the papers now. Okay, so do you get it? The launch of cement for the Masons means that the innocents get buried in the cornerstone, and the heaven is on your roof until it caves in on you on the acts of God. Next one is sweatshop. Yeah, another one of their designs, because they're too lazy, if you're a poof like Hadrian, to actually get rid of your body fat and go running. So they go to the baths and they make it a sweatshop. As one recalls, laconic is to be lazy. Yeah, it's called a laconicum and slub-like. The emperor and his poofy friends, in Hadrian's case, they have the temerity to call the sweatshop the caldera for the volcano. Yeah, and all their mates die in that, and all of the scientists die particularly viciously, because they believe that nature is understandable and that they can tame it. Yeah, that's Finlay Calder, who's come up to me several times, yeah, from the club that is Stuart's Melville, who provided 2 of the Pilgrim Fathers for the massive joke about Christianity coming out of Scotland and the Flemish coast. Yeah, do you get the flamingo, Fleming, Goldfinger jokes now? And they've been creeping around me all week. Yeah. And walking their German sausage dog, which is that. Yeah, with the short legs. And so God buries them all when they name it the caldera. Yeah, there, that is the Laconicum in Naples. Yeah, part of the museum exhibitions now for the Up Pompeii jokes. Okay? Poetic for Perseus the poet, who now appears on the list of Roman gods. Yet he's no longer a mortal poet. That is the Duke of Northumberland's lineage. There are several Dukes of Northumberland. All of them are Perseus. Yeah, he fights the dragon too. That is the god that becomes Perseus, and that is the dragon that is the Gorgon with the multiple heads. Yeah. And he's now, from the mortal that was the Bible fraudster in Naples as Percy the poet, yeah, and in Rome as the advisor to Herod the Great, the Bible author, yeah, and Calpurnius Piso, the murderous general, and all of the assassins that work in the Roman emperor's courts. Yeah, it is the same set of families. Yeah, and the lazy bastards, yeah, and they need to get rid of the fat by sitting, yeah, next to their poofy friends or their concubines in the Mithraeum, which is the joke about Ra and Mithra and the cults out of Egypt that I found out last night, late in the early hours. Okay, so it is the Baal Nuum, and that is the Baal god that is the bull that is sacrificed in the Mithra myths. Yeah, and that is for Emperor Constantine, the launch of the Christian Church through the oh my darling, the Clementia Abbey, and that is Clementa in the Godfather movie. Yeah, and all of them end up dead or as killers, like the assassins in this story of religion. Next, the Roman deities. Every one of them is a joke. There's the one you've already seen. That is the mother goddess of our world, with the hearts of oak, yeah, for the world's navies that kill the world's pagans, and that is Thor's oak for our tits. Yeah, and that's why it was so stormy the other night, until I turned my attention. Goddess mother of the world earth. Thor's oak, where every pagan was hung or burned under it. And that is the George Clooney joke too, because George Clooney then plays to God and he gets a biblical flood in Hollywood. Okay, every one of them has the word Piso in it. Yeah, so each of them adopt the Greek gods, which are popular. Yeah, and I don't know whether or not Zeus and Hera are still the names that the gods use in the heavens. Hera is now the cage around the building site for the local council. Totally corrupted. Yeah, Poseidon has the word Piso in it. Every one of the Pi, if you go through the whole of the alphabet, Mi becomes a joke, Di becomes a joke. Yeah, and every letter in front of pi is the Pi Piso joke. Okay, and it becomes the Mr. Pearson, the PE teacher joke. Yeah, and all of my colleagues who joined me at the fishing, and we got the lightning strikes. That's Hugh Pearson, his boss at the University of Leeds, was killed in an air balloon joke. He was in a hang glider and it crashed to the earth, like the window cleaner, yeah, who fell on the piercing device the other day. Yeah, so only a couple of them don't have the joke in it, and that is the Michael Gove by Jove. Okay, and Pluto, that becomes the PI joke. Everything has piezo in it. Apollo is the only one that does not, and that has the female fanny in it. And there's a whole tab on the next one that explains the Apollo jokes are all just piezo rewrites. Okay, Minerva, goddess of wisdom; Diana, goddess of the hunt; Mars, the marshals of the horse; and the Mars molehill to a mountain that is the Christianity belly laugh, god of war. Yet we do not have gods of war. They're good people, they're innocent people, they're there to see justice done, yeah, on this earth. Yeah, and the fracking now means that they can no longer control the pressures under the volcanoes, and all of the acts of God are becoming quite formidable, but they're not as formidable as the stockpile of nuclear weapons that as Obama has, as the false journalist that was the general in Anglesey and the general in Cardiff Bay, St. Baruch of Cardiff Bay. Right, next tab we might actually get finished. This is Jupiter, the Father God, and you'll see the same laughs all the way through. And Mercury is the messenger of the hunt, and he becomes the predictor of the weather patterns and the gods entire. So here is Jupiter, here is Jehovah, here is God of Sky News, here is Bunji in the northern hemisphere, God of sky and lightning. Do you understand why the wind was blowing, yet the night before I was due to attend the court, yet as the innocent man in the world, member of the archaic and Capitoline triads? It's the Holy Trinity joke all the way through. Yeah, and this is the Jupiter disambiguation, the transition, yeah, to the god Jupiter in Rome, and everybody prays to him when Vesuvius erupts. Yeah, and they have not got a cat in hell's chance. Okay, lightning bolt and the eagle is the symbol, yeah, for Rupert Murdoch all the way around the world. His children are Mars, Vulcan, yeah, the volcano caldera jokes; Minerva. Nerva is the Augustine Nerva dynasties that took religion right across to the west coast of Scotland, to the Paisley Abbey, and the launch of sectarian violence through Ian Paisley in the profiteering teams, yeah, that all come to meet Queen Elizabeth, yeah, since I came back from New Zealand. And the gods in New Zealand, I did not even have time to mention them, but I told you about the Holofernes. All of it is the same Bible frauds. Okay, now there are page after page of Jupiter news, yeah, and on here you find the Flemings, yeah, that is the banks in Dundee in Scotland that then provide the sandbags for the global conflicts and the war dead everywhere. The Augustan altar of peace, all of the sad bastards, yeah, sticking knives in their backs, yeah, running every pagan nation down to replace them with the Jesus fraud globally, showing Flemings wearing the pointed Opex hat, yeah, that is in the Fugitive movie, yeah, and that by then is the Flemings being the coppers and the Piso Polis, and it becomes Flaman Dialis, yeah, which is the jokes about Corbin Dallas in the movie that Hannah Rothschild helped to make yeah, with Luc Besson, and that is the red-headed Hannah Rothschild, who may well be the fifth element. Yeah. So, the Jupiter story is page after page after page